We recognize that securing a new position is a lot of work. So the Medaille College Career Planning Office has assembled this presentation to help reduce some of the stress surrounding the dreaded interview. Interviewing is an art form and one of the most important steps in your journey for that new position. Throughout this presentation, we will review the important steps to prepare for the interview, discuss how to ace the interview, provide examples of common questions, introduce various interviewing tactics. Once you get the interview, you may have been in the job search process for some time. Perhaps you've been obtaining a new or advanced degree. You most certainly have polished or rewritten your resume, and you've devoted time to finding and applying for jobs. You may be exhausted, but now is not the time to lose steam. The phone is about to ring. And when it does, you want to be prepared. So, our first piece of advice is to let the call go to voicemail. Find a time and place where you're prepared to return the phone call, provided you have shouted and high-fived the people around you. You will want to get several pieces of information from the caller before you hang up the phone. For example, a full job description, name of interviewers and titles, how much time to be set aside, if you should bring anything, directions including building number, room location, and finally, make sure you repeat the day and the date and the time to the caller. Now, there are several types of interviews that you may face. Therefore, the first step to being prepared is becoming fully knowledgeable about each type. A screening interview is just that, an opportunity for the employer to screen your background to determine if you meet the minimum qualifications. A human resource representative often conducts this type of interview before turning your information over to the hiring manager or search committee. It may even occur over the phone. A non-directive interview will feel more like a conversation as it uses general questions from which other questions are developed. For example, the applicant might state, "One aspect that I enjoyed in my last position was my supervisor," to which the interviewer might ask, "What type of supervisor do you most enjoy working with?" A structured interview will use a set of standardized questions for all applicants. Like a structured interview, the situational interview is standardized for each applicant. However, the nature of the questions target specific job situations to gain an understanding for how the applicant will respond. There are three basic types of questions to prepare for: hypothetical, related to knowledge, and related to requirements. Behavioral interviews rely on your ability to provide examples of how you have performed in the past or responded to a situation. For example, how did you handle a situation in which there were no rules or guidelines on employee discipline? Usually, one interview interviews applicants, but on occasion, it may be more time effective to be interviewed by multiple interviews at once. Therefore, during a panel interview, all interviews hear the same responses. While this reduces the number of times you will repeat yourself, it does create an opportunity to be more nervous with the group format. If you know the type of interview you will face, then you can better determine how to prepare. The most important step is to focus on the internal you and to conduct a self-assessment. If you've recently prepared your resume, you have likely already begun this process. This is a great opportunity to step back and analyze your strengths, weaknesses, skills, and abilities. Remember to use the provided job description and make connections to what the employer is seeking. You are continuing to sell yourself to the employer and proving that you are the best candidate for the position. Identify the skills and knowledge that they are seeking and brainstorm ways in which you have demonstrated that skill throughout your work experience. And remember those important transferable skills. In an interview, it is wise to provide examples, so you ask yourself if you have a story that will demonstrate the identified skill or ability. Prepare a brief, yet descriptive account of the event, decision-making process, or accomplishment. It may seem like extra work to write down these stories and skills and how they connect to the position you're interviewing for, but doing so will help to outline clearly your background, making it more accessible in the interview. We know that there are common skills and values that most employers seek from their candidates. Knowing how to respond to questions with these skills in mind will increase your standing with the interviewer. Use the following list of skills and personal values to help develop the examples previously discussed. Once you know more about yourself, you can direct your attention to learn more about the company. First, you will want to visit the website and know it inside and out. Keep your eyes open for the company's mission, vision, and recent accomplishments. Visit the department you will work in, identify new projects, processes, even technology used. All information will be helpful. Ask if the company is publicly traded. Note the size of the company and search the internet to find recent articles. Try using multiple search engines to see if the information is different and dig deeper than the first page of results. Conduct research about your interviewer using Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn. See if they have written articles or are a board member of a local nonprofit. Having this information may open a door for small talk or more in-depth conversations. Finally, you will want to have an idea about your salary expectations. Some companies ask for this with your applications while others wait until they make an offer. Therefore, at some point, you will want to research what is acceptable. Base your expectations on your education and experience, considering company data such as size and cost of living. Now that you've collected your research, we turn our attention to the visual you. You've already made a first impression on paper, so how will you look to extend that impression? As soon as you get the call inviting you for an interview, ask yourself if you're ready. Suit, hair, accessories? We recommend that you keep your attire professional and conservative while considering the company and the nature of the work when making your selections. A well-fitted suit is always acceptable, so when job searching, make sure that you keep one dry clean and pressed at all times. Given the industry, it may be acceptable to add a punch of color through a tie or jewelry, but now is not the time to overdo things. Your shoes should be as presentable as possible. Might be a good idea to have them professionally shined. Make sure that you're well groomed. Do you need a haircut or color? Are your nails neatly maintained? What about accessories? Do you need a new briefcase or portfolio? We suggest bringing a few copies of your resume and application materials. You may also want to bring your portfolio if appropriate for the industry. Prepare what you can while applying for jobs and maintain what you need. If you have to worry about shopping for a suit or getting a haircut 2 days before you're interviewing, you will lose valuable time to conduct your research and prepare your responses. Good preparation will help create a stress-free pre-interview time. Finally, the last thing to do before your interview is practice, practice, practice. Choose a set of interview questions and role play with a friend or family member. Contact our office to arrange for a videotape mock interview. Even practicing your responses in the mirror will be helpful. Your objective is to get comfortable speaking about yourself, providing constructive examples, and reducing your nervous habits. Now the day has finally arrived. Did you practice your arrival? We encourage you in practicing your drive at the same time as you will interview so you can reduce your stresses for the morning of your interview. By practicing, you can guarantee that you won't get lost and can arrive 10 minutes early. Now what to do with those 10 minutes? Spend a few minutes in the parking lot reviewing those last few questions. Maybe even listen to a song that calms you down or gives you confidence. Then collect your materials, make your way to the interview. We recommend one last stop at the restroom to give yourself a good look over, take a breath mint so that you enter the interview ready to go. Present yourself at the interview site 5 minutes before the interview. Any more than this, and your interview may not be ready for you, creating an uncomfortable situation. Any less, and you might find yourself running late or not looking prepared. When the interview comes to retrieve you from the lobby or waiting area, provide them with a confident handshake, smile, and genuine enthusiasm. Once you are settled in the interview space, scan the room. Who's present? What is the demeanor of the interviewer group? When you have a feel or tone for the room, try to match it with your body language and responses. In most cases, the interview will spend the first few minutes reviewing the position description or company before diving in for questions. Use this as a time to take a few deep breaths, get comfortable in your seat, and of course, listen. You may find that the interview will present you with pieces of information that you can use later in the interview. If possible, try to record the names, titles, and even something memorable of those present in the room. This will come in handy after the interview. The first question and response set the tone for the remainder of the interview. An opening question may be, tell me more about yourself or interest in the position. This general opening allows you to relay quickly key pieces of information while also piquing the listener's interest. This is what you practice, so speak confidently. Common questions often build off the opening statement and include strengths, weaknesses, short, long-term goals, how do you evaluate success, what interests you about this position, tell me a time when you led a group, tell me a time when you disagree with your boss, how will you contribute to this organization. Throughout the interview, be aware of what is being asked and know your rights. Some pieces of information are illegal for the employer to ask, such as race, religion, marital status and children, age, disabilities. Ask yourself if the question and response pertain to the position. If not, ask for clarification and how the question relates. You'll communicate to the employer on several levels. So far, we've discussed how you'll communicate confidence in your dress and your professional strengths through your responses, but the third way you communicate is through body language. Here are a few points to keep in mind. Be aware of your posture and the message that it sends. Sitting high and forward in your seat with shoulders back will reflect interest. Arms placed in your lap and loosely folded on the table demonstrates openness. Watch your hands. While it is natural and sometimes encouraged to use hand gestures, sometimes they can be a distraction. For example, do you twist your hands when you're nervous? What other nervous habits do you exhibit? Being aware will help you limit your use of these habits, reducing the distraction. Whenever possible, use the interview's name. This will help redirect their focus, especially in a panel interview. If you are asked a question that you have not prepared for, and need a moment to think, then use a statement such as, "Good question," to buy some time to collect your thoughts. Even asking the interview to rephrase the question or offering your own summary will help provide the time you need. These are good strategies, but be careful not to use them for each question. Depending on the type of job you're interviewing for, you may be asked to complete some pre-employment screening. These are legal and fall under hiring conditions of the organization, so keep in mind they cannot be used to discriminate against race, gender, nationality, religion, or disability. At the end of the interview, you should be given space to ask a question or two. Write out a handful of questions prior to the interview. That way you ask thoughtful questions that demonstrate interest and perhaps work style. Here are some topics that you can ask about: position details, workplace culture, supervisor style, professional development / advancement. Not asking a question is a missed opportunity to present the interview with another side of your skill set. Don't miss out. Also, be sure to leave the interview with a sense of what is to come. You may have to ask this if the interview doesn't offer the information. Sending a thank you note will go a long way. A note should be sent to the hiring manager at the very least, however. We recommend sending a note to each of the interviewers. These notes should be sent within 24 hours of the interview. Allow yourself time immediately after the interview to record some notes about your performance and write a thoughtful thank you. Include something specific from the interview and, of course, express your interest in the position and the company. Finally, allow an appropriate amount of time to pass, but do follow up with a telephone call. This is another opportunity to express your interest and stay in the mind of the interviewer. Be careful that you don't call too soon or too often. Preparing for an interview will take time, and the more you do it, the better you will be. That being said, we've put together a list of some simple do's and don'ts in the hope that you can master the skills on the first try. Congratulations. You now have the right tools to ace your next interview. With a little preparation, a dash of confidence, and a strong background, it won't take you long to find the right position. It may be helpful to check out a copy of our interviewing handbook available online in our offices. If you have any questions or would like to set up an appointment, please contact the office.